I am more impressed with the Panthers than I was before, just because staying on top is harder than getting there.
From The Sheet, our favorite show, it's Jeff Marek. Marek, how
What's
are
up,
you,
boys?
buddy?
I am very well. How are you today, gentlemen? Oh, by the way, can I tell a quick story to kick off today's guest appearance here on the show?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay, so was upstairs before I came down here to first of all supervise the first 20 minutes of the program. Well done, well
Thank you.
done. Chum the waters nicely for the remainder of the show. And I said, "Oh, when the coffee's ready, can you bring me one downstairs?" Great picture of me, by the way, that he got on the show. He looks like I'm falling asleep. I like that. She says, "What show? What show are you doing?" And I go, I'm on with the What Chaos Boys." She goes, "That's a dog Zamboni, right?" I'm like,
Yes.
"Oh, you know it. It's the dog Zamboni show. Let's go."
The branding is strong.
Yes.
It's still my favorite. It's still like one of my favorite things in all of hockey, not just like in hockey podcasts. The dog Zamboni the Zamboni dog rather. I guess dog Zamboni works too.
It's
Still one of the best things.
it's great imagery. We've now
It's awesome.
named him the what mutt, which is the
I like
what
that.
for what
Yeah.
chaos and the mutt because all dogs are created equal. Okay, if you're the Florida Panthers, do you just re-sign Brad Marchand at this point? I've had him gone getting top dollar somewhere forever because he's just at that point in his career. But if you're the Panthers and you have the 32 ranked prospect pool in the NHL, according to The Athletic, are you like, you know what? Do we just keep these guys? Like, do we just bid Aaron Ekblad adieu, figure we can try to recreate that in the aggregate, and then bring back Marchand and Bennett?
So there's a few things here on Marchand. That was a really good conversation about that you guys talked about with the Boston Bruins and Sweeney and Marchand coming down off of his ask as Elliot reported last week. Okay, let me back up here. The only reason we're having this conversation is because Brad Marchand got traded and he's doing these things that Brad Marchand is doing right now. And I still would have Sam Bennett as my Conn Smythe winner, but you can make a strong case for Brad Marchand as well. We'll see what happens in the next game or maybe two games if Edmonton can turn things around tomorrow. He wouldn't be doing this with the Boston Bruins. Like the reason he's set up for but right now, if you're a Boston Bruins fan, if they had re-signed him, you'd feel good because emotional leader, spiritual leader, all that. He's our guy. He's our captain, fumes of the past, 2011 Stanley Cup and all of that. But he's doing this because he's on the Florida Panthers. And is he in line for a massive payday? Yes. I just don't know if it's going to be from the Florida Panthers. And here's why. The Florida Panthers have done a really good job identifying players that are undervalued elsewhere. Like, as much as we look at the Florida Panthers and say, "Oh, look, it's a team that bases all their decisions on how hard a player plays and how gritty and how tough they are," and they sign guys and pick them up off waivers and make trades for guys that have stones. Like, these are Florida Panthers players. That team doesn't do anything without consulting their head of analytics, Sonny Mehta. Like, Sonny Mehta here is one of the best kept secrets in the NHL. Bill Zito doesn't make a move until consulting his. I know this is an argument that was like over a million years ago, but I was having a conversation. I wrote about this in my blog today. I was having a conversation with the manager last week, and I said, if you rank the teams that base their decisions on what their analytics department feels about those players, how would you rank the NHL? He said, number one is the obvious. It's the Carolina Hurricanes. Like, and we all know that. And he said, number two will surprise you. I said, why? He said, it's the Florida Panthers. Nothing happens without Sonny Mehta saying, yeah, we should do this. So I am very much of the feeling that if they move on from Brad Marchand, that's fine, because in their mind, and Carolina's this way too, and we saw this, last year, letting all those players walk and they still get to the Eastern Conference Final, they can find someone to replace him. Just like I don't think that they would be, entirely put out if Aaron Ekblad ended up going to Utah or ended up going to Dallas or Toronto or wherever else he's sort of rumored to go, because in their minds, they've done it before and they can do it again. They can identify and they can bring in the guys, whether it's Gustav Forsling, who's, an ultimate example. Sam Bennett was someone who was not working at all with the Calgary Flames. They have that ability. This is as much as it looks like an old school eye test team, this is one of the most progressive organizations in the entire NHL. It really is. That's why I think if Marchand's going to go and chase the money and he's going to get paid, I just don't think it's going to be with Florida.
Yeah, we all know he's going to Utah.
Utah Mammoth. Pencil it in.
Yeah. Okay. Let me throw another one out at you then. So one of the other teams that was really hot on Brad Marchand at trade deadline, I mean, it didn't really matter because he wanted to go to Florida, and that's ultimately where he ended up going, were the Dallas Stars. And if Jason Robertson is gone, if they move him and try to recapture the capital that they lost making the Jason Robertson move, would it surprise anybody if the Dallas Stars once again tried to bring in Brad Marchand? Wouldn't surprise me at all.
He would have to change his name to Marshantonen, and then they would sign him. He's not finished.
Right.
You have to be Finnish. Yes, I know the Finnish mafia there. Here's one more thing on Brad Marchand. So I was thinking about this on the weekend. I'm really curious your thoughts on this. So just in the salary cap era, okay, we're all fascinated with the third line in the Stanley Cup, right? Your third line is where you win Stanley Cups. The top six is all going to wash. You're going to win the Stanley Cup based on your third line. I've always maintained the best third line that I've seen in the salary cap era is Anaheim 2007. So Sammy Paulson, Travis Moen, and Rob Niedermeyer. Now you can also look at Coleman and Gourde and Goudreau with the Tampa Bay Lightning and say, hold on a second here, Mr. 2007 Anaheim Ducks. And then we have Lundell Luosterainen and Brad Marchand.
What about HBK?
I was going to say,
okay, I know, and throw Pittsburgh in there as well. Okay, we'll throw HBK in there as well. I don't know how to order those four now. I don't know how to organize those four. I really don't.
It's definitely the Rushmore. Like if you're looking at Mount Rushmore third lines in the
lines, that's
cap era, that's got to be it. Some order of that. So yeah, I mean, I'm firmly of the belief that the third line is kind of what separates the good from the great, and it's been great for the Panthers during this postseason. Did want to ask you, through 5 games, and DJ had this question. It's a great question. Do you feel any differently about the Panthers or the Oilers versus how you came into the Stanley Cup Final?
I am more impressed with the Panthers than I was before, just because staying on top is harder than getting there. Right? Staying there. It's the Rocky story, right? If you're not hungry, you won't eat. Marvin Hagler used to always have the great line. It's hard to get up at 5 a.m. to do road work when you're sleeping in silk pajamas. And I always thought that was from my favorite boxer of all time, the marvelous one, Marvin Hagler. It's tough to stay on top. Now, the Florida Panthers, and it was actually, Glenn Sather, the old Oilers general manager, he used to always make this point. In order to keep things fresh, you have to change 15% of your team every year. No matter what, you win the Stanley Cup, doesn't matter. You can't keep the band together. Now, that was in the era where you could, because there was no salary cap, and a lot of it is done now out of economic necessity. But, and again, this goes back to the previous point. Like, you look what the Florida Panthers have been able to do by way of identifying and have guys fit into this team. And it's like, fuck, guys, it's like an Olympic diver into the water. Like, there's no ripple. Like Seth Jones, right? Who's just like floundering and just like, oh man, my career in Chicago for how long? Like, all of a sudden, this is the Seth Jones that we were talking about, maybe going first overall, coming out of Portland. And could he be better than Nathan McKinnon and Alexander Barkov? And Brad Marchand, the correct. No one's talking about the injuries. No one's talking about, double hip surgery for Brad Marchand anymore. No one's talking about four nations. It's all of a sudden, who's going to give this guy 8.5 times 3? And someone probably will. But like, they identify and get guys into this lineup so seamlessly. And this is like, they've already been to the buffet once, right? They're already, they're already on like their second turn, actually in this case, third. Turn back to the buffet. So I'm even more impressed at the Florida Panthers, and even coming off what Paul Maurice talked about last year on the ice after he won, and he talked about the other teams and the other players around the league that he wants to experience this. Like he wasn't talking about like, and we're going back for more and we're going to set records. Like, no, it was like, I want everybody to experience this. That's how great it is. I don't know. This is a long-winded answer. I'm more impressed with Florida than I have been before. Now watch Edmonton rip off 2 in a row, have a parade in the city of champions. And we'll just pretend this interview never happened.
Have you felt there have been trends, anything? I mean, we've talked about the staggering stat of the Oilers have led after one regulation period this series, and that obviously the starts for Florida have been insane. But we went into the series with the rule of no takeaways because both of these teams have just had too many. To say ups and downs would make it sound like they're bad teams, but just like both these teams have proven over the last 2 seasons and postseasons that absolutely anything can happen. Have you watched the series and felt like, okay, I've learned this about X and this is going to happen now? Because like going into game 6, like I don't want to ask you what do you think happens because I don't want any of us to look dumb.
Yeah. Well, here's the one thing that I know about the Florida Panthers, and I haven't felt this way about a team since the Babcock Wings. And that is they are the masters of one of the things that I think is the hardest thing to achieve. And they do this as a team. And that is the 1-minute penalty. So Mike Babcock's team like would set casual picks all the time. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of technically it's interference, but it's not egregious. And man, it's the playoffs and you're an official and you don't want to call that because it doesn't feel like 2 minutes. But if we had a 1-minute penalty, I'd call it, but it doesn't rise to the level of 2 minutes. Panthers are there, but it's not just like interference. It's everything. I don't know that I've seen a team consistently hit that target of what we do, shift in and shift out. If there was a 1-minute penalty, we'd be called every shift. And like that all just accumulates throughout the game, right? Like, it's one tiny little thing here in the first shift. And then a couple of shifts later, it's another one. And then by the time the third period rolls around, Edmonton is pulling their hair out. And everyone that plays against them is pulling their hair out because it's been an accumulation of 1-minute penalties and you're frustrated as hell. The other thing that I know about, let me know what you think about this one. I think that Corey Perry could play on the Florida Panthers yesterday. Like, could you not see Corey Perry playing on this team? I think we all could. So now what I believe, because we've seen Corey Perry go banana sandwich a couple of times here, right? I think this is for the first time in his career, Corey Perry knows what it feels like to play against Corey Perry. He really, really doesn't like it. And that's what Florida is serving up. And it's fascinating to watch Corey Perry realize, man, I'm miserable to play against. This is what it's like playing against me. I don't like this. Now I understand how everyone's felt for the last 20 years in the NHL. Man, I'm awful to play against.
It's the Spider-Man meme.
Spider-Man.
If Spider-Man realizes like that's an ugly motherfucker, like that's pointing at me.
So does that mean that next year Corey Perry is going to retire because you just feel so bad about his history, or is he going to come back as therapy Corey Perry for a stretch run?
Ooh. You know what I wonder about with Corey Perry? Like I've wondered like if the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, if he just calls it pieces out on the career, ends on the ultimate high. Like I've always had this like dream that I want some player to do this one day. Like when they retire, take their skates off at center ice, leave them and walk off. Like just do that. And just like the shot of like the skates beside the cup is skating, walking off into the sunset. To me, is just a gorgeous visual. But Corey Perry says he wants to keep playing. It would be kind of cool if Corey Perry ended his career where it began, because the Anaheim Ducks are going to spend like crazy this summer. We know that. Could you not see Corey Perry finishing it in Anaheim?
Oh, I would love that.
He would look so funny in those bright ass orange.
Yeah,
uniforms.
man.
It is so funny that the Ducks rebranded to be like, ooh, we're a fun, vibrant group. And then they just trade for all the surly old guys like Jacob Trouba. They get Gudis. Now they got Kreider. If they get Corey Perry, it'll look like those guys, old men wearing weird young kids costumes. But I'm for
Yeah.
it. That would be a great story. You love a great story. That's
right?
what
Like,
I've gathered
And a
about you.
visual.
I just
And a
cheer for
visual.
stories. I just cheer for stories.
And on your 1 minute penalty thing, as you were saying that, I was like, that's not even to mention the Marchand goal from game 5, in which he is at the blue line with the puck before the puck has been dropped off the faceoff. Which
it's so close. It's so close to being blown down, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like as soon as the puck is about to be dropped, was it Podkolzin? He's jumping on Podkolzin. Like he's jumping in there fast. Again, like you're right. Like that's another example of the 1 minute penalty. And if there was a 1 minute penalty in the NHL, man, Florida would be filling the box. We don't have it. So Florida is the best team at getting away with it. And you'll watch it tomorrow. You'll see it so many. Once you sort of get your head around the idea of a 1 minute penalty, you'll see Florida doing it all game long. They are the masters of it, and it's a skill. Like honestly, it is a skill to be able to walk that line and not rise to the level of a mind. Now you step over sometimes, certainly, but like consistently, like they're the masters of this thing.
And
Masters of the 60-second penalty.
That's what we were saying after game 3. Like a reason I don't golf is because when I'm golfing with the average man who golfs, they slice it into the woods and they're screaming and they're swearing and they're cursing themselves and everything. And what they don't realize is they're not good at golf. Why did they expect to hit it straight? Why are you mad? Why are you like, you're just not good at that? The Oilers after game 3 are doing they don't get called for anything. And every time that we do it, we get called for it. Yes, they're good at it. You're not good at it. You're doing it next to an official after a play. They're looking at you do that.
Being on the same way about golf too. Like I am awful, like to the point where like, just don't call me. I'm terrible. I don't have a good time. I'm bad at it. I always say, and you feel free to steal this one. You don't want me there because the best 2 balls I'll hit is when I step on a rake. It's all downhill from there, man. It's all downhill from there.
You know
That's
what Stoff says?
Second best golf quote that we've heard.
You know what Stoff says?
What's that?
He says, I want grinders, not golfers.
That's how he built his teams. Such a good line.
I love Stoff, man. I love Bob Stoffer.
Off the trends thing, like I feel like the only trend or big grand takeaway I've kind of come away from the series with is that Edmonton is so much more volatile than Florida is. Florida is the most stable team that we've seen, and yeah, that's like an easy thing to say when they're the reigning Stanley Cup champions, and then they're one win away again. But like this team never gets too high or too low, whereas like Edmonton is constantly like the pendulum is swinging hardcore back and forth. Like, do you feel like Edmonton's too volatile?
I think as I'm hearing you describe this, Pete, the one thing that I'm thinking about, okay, so what's the basis of stability for a hockey team? Your goaltender.
Yeah.
Like Bob's there. Bob's got it. We're good. I can cheat a little because Bob's got it. I can do this because Bob's got it. And in the back of your mind, if you're an Edmonton Oiler, you're not saying that about either one of your guys. Like, let me throw this one out at you. The last team to win a Stanley Cup when the goaltender had a sub 900 save percentage was who?
That would be
not Colorado.
It's Colorado, right? I thought Kemper finished below.
No, he was
he like 902?
903 or 902.
People were like Kemper's bad, which like but like he wasn't so bad. Not I want to say Binnington just to make people furious.
Nope.
But
not true.
He was indeed above 900. Would that give it to me? Oh, would it be Corey Crawford?
No, was that one you would think?
Yes.
But no, and it wasn't even Antti Niemi in 2010 either, or Michael Leighton on the other side when the losing cause for the Philadelphia Flyers in the Stanley Cup Final. We say that had the worst 2 goaltenders in it. What are you guys doing in 1988?
Being born. I was listening to Injustice for All. Just doing stuff like that.
Nice. I was in the sack getting hit with rakes on the golf course.
Grant Fuhr, 1988.
Wow.
Damn.
That was the last time.
Yeah, but that was like a good save percentage in 88, wasn't it?
He had it in 88. It like honestly, you could get away with that. But in the new age of goaltending, like the Allaire Waugh era, and since you win the Stanley Cup, your goaltender's got a .900 save percentage.
So what you're
And
saying,
that's not Edmonton.
so
Hasn't been Edmonton.
what you're saying is when the Oilers get a sub 900 goaltending performance, they win the Stanley Cup.
That's true.
Like it.
Well, it was Grant Fuhr. I don't know if you want to give Grant a call now and say, can you rekindle the magic? You got 2 games left in you, Grant. But technically you're right. But that was before the goaltending position changed too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Like this wasn't until like what?
No, well,
I was going to say off the stability and goaltending thing. Do you know off the top of your head when the last time a team won a Stanley Cup with getting just one goaltender throughout the entirety of the playoffs? Because Sergei Bobrovsky has played every second of the Florida Panthers run this year, and
it feels
off the top of my head,
that feels like a Marty Brodeur stat to me.
Mm.
Who would not surrender the crease to anybody.
It like 2003 or something.
Stat.
Yeah.
That's what it again. That's what it feels like.
You're a
look like Bob even Bob's had a couple of clunkers along the way, but like the team shakes it off. Like they're fine. It's Bob. He's going to be fine. I think like all of your stability comes from how good your goaltender is. Like Ned Harkness, used to, the old Detroit Red Wings coach in the 70s used to say, we need to change the name of the game from hockey to goaltender, because at the end of it, like that's all that really matters. Why are we calling this thing hockey? Let's just call it what it should be called. Goalie. That's the sport. That's it.
I do think, and now we'll do the goalie thing, but like I do think that not that goaltending is overrated or anything, or not that it doesn't matter, but there is some irony in the fact that on the night Connor Hellebuck is awarded the Hart in a video in which he is fishing. Calvin Pickard and Stu Skinner are willing the Edmonton Oilers with pretty fine performances to a win over the $10.5 million goalie in the Stanley Cup Final. So I do think that it isn't the end all be all, but you're very thoughtful, and I was putting a lot of thought into how the Oilers do their goalie thing after Game 4, and I know that you're not a big Stu guy, but my thinking was maybe I ultimately landed on go with Pickard in Game 5, but my concern was if you go with Pickard in Game 5 and then you have to turn back to Stu after a Pickard loss, you're saying, Stu, get out there on the road. We've yanked you from this building in the last 2 games. We didn't play you in Game 5 because we don't think you're the guy. Versus if they had just gone back to Stu for Game 5 and won that game, then great, you got 2 chances at winning the cup. Or if he loses, throw Pickard in for Game 6 and it's the backup goalie on the road and you're trying to look for some spark. How did you feel about it, and how do you feel now?
I think that, first of all, you got to let go of feelings in the playoffs and not worry about, if I'm going to offend my goaltender, what is this going to mean for next season? Like you can't think like that. Like this is like, who are we going to get the best performance out of tonight that's going to help us win? Listen, I didn't necessarily think they needed to go back to Pickard. I thought that it would have been fine going back to Skinner. Having said that, I think now they need to go to Skinner. But even then, I still think it's jump ball. All I do know is if the Oilers win the next 2 games here, I'm going to be happy for one, maybe both of these guys. Like I love the Pickard story, the guy who has never quit. You guys have talked to a million hockey players and they'll all tell you the same story. Hockey will always give you a reason to quit. Every player will have a reason every season to quit. So many guys have been given reasons to quit, right? Calvin Pickard's another in that long list. I'd be really happy for him. And I'd be really happy for Stu Skinner too, because he's heard it about his performance that, the Oilers win despite their goaltending, despite Stu Skinner for so long. I would just like that to sort of shake off of his back, and have his name on the Stanley Cup. Do I think that's going to happen? Jeez, I don't know, man. Florida's just been completely smothering the Oilers here, and it kind of makes me feel like we're not talking about Gustav Forsling enough through all of this, like one of the big stories here is just how the Florida Panthers have just blanketed the Edmonton Oilers here. And I think Gustav Forsling's a huge part of it, but nonetheless.
More like a wet blanket because he's always on the ice. That guy lies down a lot.
He does lie down a lot.
What are you implying here, sir? What are you trying to imply about Gustav Forsling?
No, it works for him, but it drives me crazy when Darnell Nurse lays out. Yet when Gustav Forsling lays out, it works every time. I'm like, fuck.
I know. Listen, I get it. Like the one egregious one, like the one, right? I get like the Nurse one was bad, but that Evander Kane cross check in front of the net. I'm always amazed. I've made this point countless times. Everyone probably sick of me saying this. I don't, I didn't go past grade 11 physics. So I didn't get to the part where they talked about what happens when you put blue paint on ice, what happens to gravity. Apparently it just becomes that much more profound, and it just becomes that much stickier, I suppose. And players just fall down more naturally because the gravity is just stronger, I guess. I didn't know all you had to do was put blue paint on ice, but there it is right in front of us. I never went past grade 11 physics, though. I'm always amazed at how players all over the ice are really strong and can stand and withstand like cross checks and slashes and everything, but put them anywhere near a goaltender and tap them, and somehow gravity is more profound. And you really see
there have been some very fun dives in this series. Like I think that Evander Kane dove on that trip in Game 5. The best one was Bob.
Yeah. Speaking of blue paint, Bobrovsky had the best dive. Almost concussed himself on the post.
That would have been so funny. Such a funny concussion.
If they call diving, if they call diving on it, like if they call embellishment on that one.
No, if he had to leave the series because he threw his head back
what a
and hit
classy
it against
Oilers
the post.
fan we have rooting for head trauma for Sergei Bobrovsky. That's how down bad he is.
I mean, I think Bob was rooting for it.
But Bean's got a point, because like that was an ST plunge. Right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
like, that was a complete ST plunge. I honestly, when I watched that, I thought, okay, 2 are gonna go here. You're gonna call the initial, and then you're gonna call the goaltenders. I was stunned that they didn't call Bobrovsky on that one, because it was because the one thing the officials don't want, like, it's like, look, just don't embarrass us. Don't flail. If you're gonna go down, okay, fine, but don't do like the arms out to the wide. Like, don't go down like a starfish. Don't go down with the legs and the arms and everything. Like, don't draw attention to it. I understand players are going to embellish, borderline dive. I think the officials just don't want to be humiliated in the process. I think
they've humiliated themselves enough during the course of this Stanley Cup Final. I know it's a hard job, but they've sucked.
But here's the thing. It's not as if like there's like a secret like room full of like the better referees. Like, first of all, like it's not like, okay, they're keeping like the good referees locked up. Ha ha ha! You get these guys instead. We'll show you, hockey fans. Aha! And I am king. Curtain. Like it's not like that. My main takeaway from all this is, again, the game is too fast to call with the accuracy that people want. It is. It's just too quick a game right now. Again, like I always say, we're sitting here. Like I watch TV either in my office chair or from the couch and call penalties. Like I always tell people, like, you want to know what it's like go to a game and run up and down along the play as it's going on and try to call it. And you may make the point too that, listen, all of the officials are on the ice, which may be the worst place to try to call a penalty, considering how many bodies there are moving in concert at an accelerated rate of velocity right now. I really do think that we're at the point now where we really need to consider if this is a real problem to people, and I'm not necessarily saying that it is a major problem, if we want to have a different style of game officiated. For me, it's still fine. For me, I'm still fine with having the human. I'll tell you what, the best thing that I ever heard, which really turned because I used to be one of those like F the referees, F this. I remember playing beer league one night, and I got called for some penalty, and I was going to the box and yelling at the referee on my way, and the referee said, I'll never forget that, he goes, "You want better officiating?" And I went, "Yeah." He said, "We should be a better player then, because at your level, this is the officiating you deserve. If you want better officiating, go up a level. That's where the better officials are. But right now, I'm as good as you deserve. So get in the penalty box." I know
you can't really respond to that.
Of all time.
A+.
I'm I'm like, yeah, and I'm a hack and you're a hack. And I guess we're just sort of stuck with each other here, I guess.
I agree with you. Like, I like the human element of it. The thing that's
So
bothered
do
me the
I.
most, I guess, during this playoff is that players will play up to the threshold that they're given. And I just feel like the threshold has been changed too much. And it's resulted in a lot of inconsistency.
It's always going to be that way because nobody looks like, again, you can maybe take this all the way back to the creation of the 2 referee system as opposed to the 1. When you had the 1 referee making calls, you had a feel for the game and you knew where the line was. All of a sudden it's a 2 referee system. I understand because the game is a lot quicker. And now we're starting to talk about consistency. No one's going to call the game the same way. Like if you 2 guys were official, do you see you have the same eyeballs? You have the same background? Like you're gonna call different penalties.
You know what the solution is?
What's that?
The NHL has to hire more twins. Have to hire more twins to be referees. You will get the same DNA, the same genes, the same all of the. Keep it consistent across the board. Problem solved.
That's an awesome idea. That is a fantastic idea. Stephen Welcome likes to recruit, guys that play in Europe, play Division 1. You got to be able to skate. You got to be able to keep up. No, just go for twins. Stephen Welcome. Right. Memo to Stephen Welcome from Pete. No, you gotta recruit. You got to recruit twins. It's not a bad idea.
Twins.
I was gonna say it's the sponsorship sells itself. You do and twins. There you go. Amazing. All right, Marek, you rule. What do you have on the sheet today?
Pierre Maguire and I will be talking about the final. We'll be talking about trade rumors. We'll probably be talking about Brad Marchand. We'll probably talk about the latest scuttlebutt around the NHL and what to expect at the draft. By the way, you want to talk about reading the room perfectly? At the Combine 2 weeks ago, whenever Brady Martin of the Sioux Greyhounds, whose stock is rising quickly, was asked about players that he compares himself to, Sam Bennett, Tom Wilson. Music to every man. I'm like, this is marketing. Now, he is that style of player, but went out of his way. Like the Florida Panthers effect, you will see at the draft. Make no mistake about it. Guys that play that way, Kashawn Aitchison is another one, defenseman for the Barrie Colts, will go higher than they normally would, just based on how the Panthers are succeeding right now in the NHL.
Shitheads are in.
We love Brady Martin. I was talking to a very bright young man named Evan Marinofsky, who I think is New England Hockey Journal, but he has a great Bruins podcast, and I would highly recommend you chat with him someday. He watches all these guys just like you do, and we were talking about Brady Martin potentially for the Bruins at 7 if he's there. And he brought up a point I haven't heard anybody make on Brady Martin, which is Brady Martin might be Sam Bennett, as everybody wants him to be, but how did drafting Sam Bennett with a top 5 pick actually work out? Because it took Sam Bennett getting to the right situation where he could be a really good 3rd or 2nd line player, and then he kept ascending and he's amazing now. But ask the Calgary Flames how drafting Sam Bennett worked out.
I'm glad you brought this up because there's 2 pieces to it. There's the drafting piece, and then there's the other piece, which you always forget about, and that's the development piece. I know managers always get roasted. Oh, you missed on this pick. You missed. It's not that the scout misidentified. Was that second piece there? Was that development piece there for that specific player? And so many managers and scouts get roasted on draft picks, and it's not the pick; it's the development that fell down. It's a really good point. It really is.
Okay, I think we still want him to go to Utah.
We want everybody to go to Utah.
I want everyone to go to Utah. If Marchand will shepherd him so well.
If Utah keeps the pick, that's the other one here too, right? Could Utah move down? Can they just flat out trade the pick? To me, Utah might be the most interesting team at the draft. If they keep 4, who are they taking? Will they flip with someone who wants someone at 4? I got all these, and again, you just get carried away with stuff, and you think about okay, the Pittsburgh Penguins are 11. Kyle Dubas loves Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds players. So they may try to make a trade with Utah. The Penguins move up to 4 to take Brady Martin, and then I think, okay, well, Porter Martone's dad is from Sault Ste. Marie, and Kyle Dubas put Porter Martone on the World Championship team. So the Penguins try to jump up to try to grab Porter Martone. These are the things we occupy ourselves with in advance of the draft. And then you know what happens at the draft, guys? Everybody makes their pick, and everyone goes home. Happens every year.
You had me at Utah as the most interesting team. I think we all agree there.
They are.
We love them and we love you. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks, boys.
You're the best.
Go Zamboni,
Talk
dog.
soon.
We all silly like the mayor.